Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the historical and educational presentation of Girl Scouts in Style. I'm Sophie Wolf, the museum's administrative assistant. Gail Warner, our executive director, and Lisa Taylor, our outreach coordinator, are in attendance as well. Our MC this evening is Mike Werner. Mike, go ahead and wave your hand. A member of the Girl Scouts of Colorado History Committee. He has spent an incredible amount of time and energy putting together this fabulous fashion show, and he and other members of the History Committee have gone above and beyond the customary roles of curators, given tours, planned special activities for troops, and been available at the drop of the hat to answer visitors' questions, and we can't thank them enough. Members are Jo Anne Busch, Marty Allison, Linda Robinson, Marti Shuster, Mike Werner, Jody Werner, Margot Iwanchuk, Sharon Akers, Jan Philpy, and Adrienne Thomas. And we also send a special shout out to Adam Nader, Video Operations Manager at Colorado State University. He spent many hours both filming and editing the fashion show video, which we will show tonight. So I will be showing the video. It was pre-filmed, so I'll be sharing my screen, and it's about 20 minutes long, and then we'll have time about equal to 20 minutes as well afterwards for questions. Questions will be directed at Mike, and he can always pass them on to other members of the History Committee if he feels like it. So I think without further ado.
Good evening and welcome to our Girl Scout fashion show. This fashion show is part of the Girl Scouts Impact the World exhibit at the Global Village Museum of Arts and Cultures in Fort Collins, Colorado. We invite you all to visit the exhibit any Tuesday through Saturday until May 21st.
A lot has happened to girls and Girl Scouts in the past 110 years. We've gone from the beginning of automobiles into space. We've gone from communicating by long personal letters or short telegrams to the internet, Facebook, and Instagram. Girls have gone from tying knots to building computers and robots.
Tonight, we're going to introduce you to a variety of Girl Scout uniforms from 1919 through 2000, as well as what Girl Scouts have been doing over the past 110 years. Our uniforms have gone from blue to khaki to green and green and green and back to khaki. Girls have worn everything from bloomers to dresses to bell-bottom pantsuits to separates and vests. Each uniform has its own special meaning to the girls and leaders who wore them, but all our uniforms express our pride, friendship, leadership, and service in the sisterhood of Girl Scouts and Girl Guides.
Juliette Gordon Lowe met with a group of girls in Savannah, Georgia on March 12, 1912 to form the first Girl Scout troop by making a legendary telephone call to her cousin saying, "I've got something for the girls of Savannah and all America, and we're going to start it tonight." Girl Scouting was original, exciting, and innovative. It brought new challenges and meaning to the lives of every girl it touched. The first uniforms were sewed by the girls and their mothers at home and consisted of a blue midi blouse and skirt with bloomers, which were puffy knee-length shorts under her skirt. This uniform allowed girls to energetically participate in the many new activities they were introduced to while remaining fashionable and ladylike.
In 1916, an official uniform in khaki was introduced because it was more practical and did not show dirt as easily. Girl Scouts were proud of their khaki uniforms because they were similar to the uniforms worn by soldiers in World War I. Everyone in the community could readily identify Girl Scouts as they performed war service work, helped soldiers' families, or collected peach pits for gas masks.
Girls were earning proficiency badges in a variety of areas from housekeeping and first aid to cyclist and electrician. These were worn on the sleeves of the uniforms.
An experimental program for younger girls became popular, so in 1927, Brownies became an official program for girls 7 to 9 years old. Her brown slip-over dress has a Peter Pan collar and a pixie-style hat and bloomers that complete her outfit.
During the Great Depression of the 1930s, many families had a very hard time surviving. There were few jobs and food was scarce because of a drought. Girl Scouts adapted by introducing a new uniform that used less material, was more durable, and kept up with the times. Girls still sewed their proficiency badges on their right sleeve to show their accomplishments. The new uniform made them easily identified as they did service projects in their communities. Mika is modeling a Depression-era Girl Scout uniform.
As the membership grows, so do the programs. There are 3 levels in Girl Scouting: the Brownies, Intermediates, and Seniors. Senior Girl Scouts could also be Wing Scouts, learning about weather and flying, or Mariner Girl Scouts, learning skills in boating, sailing, navigation, and water safety on lakes, reservoirs, or the ocean.
Girl Scout Mariners has been a part of Girl Scouts' bold history since 1934. The program provided older girls grade 8 to 12 an opportunity to engage in water-focused activities, developing their skills in swimming, safety and rescue, sailing, small craft navigation, weather, and even sea lore and sailors' handicrafts. The Mariners continued to be an active part of the Girl Scout program until the early 1960s, when Girl Scouts of the USA made a change to 4 program levels. Mariners became part of the Senior Girl Scout Interest Program. Inara shows us the Brownie uniform. Brownies also got a new uniform to match their more active program. The uniform even had a curved breast pocket reflecting the Brownie Smile song popular with young girls. Do you remember? I've got something in my pocket that belongs across my face. I keep it very close at hand in a most convenient place. I'm sure you couldn't guess it if you guess a long, long while. So I'll take it out and put it on. It's a great big brownie smile.
The 1940s were again a time of sacrifice and service as the United States was in World War II. Girl Scouts worked hard performing service to our country, collecting scrap metal and growing victory gardens. Girl Scouts all across the country collected milkweed pods to help make life jackets for sailors because the USA's major supply of kapok in the Dutch West Indies was cut off by the Japanese. Major changes to uniforms were necessary because zippers, webbing for belts, metal buttons, and some fabrics were being used for millions of military uniforms. Badges and sashes became an option as some uniforms were short-sleeved. Korean War followed in the early 50s. Girl Scouts continued their efforts by assembling kits for Korea, which were items needed by Korean people.
After experiencing all the hard times of the Great Depression and World War II, everyone just wanted to go to camp and have fun. New uniforms encouraged girls to participate in more active games and adventures. Brownies got their own camp suit with brown shorts with an inside pocket and a boyish short sleeve blouse. Can you imagine going to camp in a starched white blouse? How much fun could you have if you had to stay all neat all day? Leaders got a green and white striped seersucker one-piece playsuit with bloomers. Doesn't Miss Jessica look fashionable and ready to meet the girls at camp for some fun outdoor activities?
Senior Girl Scout uniforms were also updated to reflect changing fashions and the interest of older girls. They were becoming stylish young adults, and their uniforms and activities reflected more adult interests such as career exploration, international friendship, and technology.
Girl Scout adults have also worn distinctive uniforms from the very first days of our organization. Here is Miss Andrea wearing her stylish 1950s dress uniform in green cotton covert with hat and white gloves. Her simple uniform coordinates well with her intermediate Girl Scouts and was in line with the fashion of the times.
Between 1956 and 1965, senior Girl Scouts from across the USA, along with Girl Guides from all over the world, came together for 2-week celebrations of camping called roundups. Most girls traveled in their uniforms on special trains with hundreds of other Girl Scouts to Michigan, Vermont, or Idaho. After traveling from New York on a train, Mika is ready to meet some new friends at the Roundup in Colorado. Over 10,000 senior Girl Scouts came to the Roundup in Colorado Springs in 1959. The Bermuda shorts, white blouses with colorful bolo string ties, and straw hats were very comfortable travel uniforms.
In 1963, the Girl Scouts redesigned the whole program and created 4 age levels: Brownies, Juniors, Cadets, and Seniors. There were new handbooks, new badges, and new uniforms. Brownie's new uniforms were very similar to the old ones, but with a straight pocket in place of her Brownie Smile pocket. Madison models the new Junior uniform with short sleeves, lightweight cotton green dress, an elastic belt, and bright yellow tie. The badge sash and beret were retained. Cadets got a more young look to their uniforms that reflected their maturing status. Lucy wears the fashionable white blouse and dark green skirt with a Girl Scout tab at the waistline. A badge and sash and beret were also part of the uniform. Here's Mika wearing the new stylish senior uniform consisting of a green jewel-toned combed cotton sharkskin jacket and slim skirt.
In 1961, our camp uniforms were also updated. Brownies and juniors started wearing matching t-shirts and shorts to camp. These new uniforms fit right in with more energetic activities like fire building, cooking over an open fire, and sleeping in tents.
The 1970s were a time of many changes in music, fashion, and culture. Girl Scout uniforms kept up with the changing times by changing to popular polyester materials and adding pants and separates. Welcome back Addie, who is wearing the senior Girl Scouts uniform dress without pants, but it was very popular to shorten the dress and add flared pants to her outfit. The changing length of this uniform gave it the nickname the official Girl Scout uniform with an unofficial hemline. On formal occasions, she still wore white gloves.
Cadet Girl Scouts also got a stylish new uniform, including a dark green polyester jumper or tunic with bell-bottom pants and a bright yellow blouse with trefoil stripes and a beret. She could also choose a yellow bodysuit or a skirt or pants and a green vest to display her insignia.
Madison is wearing the new Junior A-line 4-front button jumper and white blouse with green trefoil stripes. A red tab tie, badge sash, beret, and knee socks with flashes complement the uniform. Emily chose a green bodysuit or pants similar to her cadet sister.
Andrea enters wearing the adult leader uniform, which also changed with the times. Soft green double knit tunic and pantsuit replaced the more formal dresses. The tunic and pantsuit was especially popular with leaders because they could wear a tunic or blouse with either pants or skirt.
The 1970s also saw a new look for Brownie Girl Scouts. Elena is wearing the new brown A-line zipper front jumper with a white blouse. Inara has chosen to wear pants, shorts, or an orange bodysuit. At the 1978 National Council session in Denver, a redesign of the Girl Scout trefoil was introduced to be known as the Contemporary Trefoil.
Beginning in 1984, girls in kindergarten could join the movement as Daisy Girl Scouts. This new level was named for our founder, Juliette Gordon Lowe, whose family called her Daisy from a very young age. These newest Girl Scouts wore a bright blue tunic with self-ties and 2 big pockets worn over their regular clothes.
Girl Scouts of the USA is a member of the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, along with 151 other countries. Known as WAGs, the association brings together girls from many cultures for a wide variety of activities and camporees. Many of these take place at one of the 5 world centers: our Chalet in Aberdeen, Switzerland, Pax Lodge in London, our Cabana in Mexico, Sangam in Pune, India, and Kusafiri. Emily has the opportunity to wear a Girl Guide uniform from Trinidad and Tobago, a country in the Western Hemisphere region of WAGs. Why are there Girl Guides and Girl Scouts as members of the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts? Countries like Trinidad and Tobago, who were influenced by the Britain Guide movement, are called Girl Guides, while countries associated with the United States like Japan or the Philippines became Girl Scouts.
In the 1980s, women's roles were changing, and the Girl Scouts were changing as well. Brownies got a new medium brown jumper with a choice of long or short pants and long or short sleeve shirt. Brownies could now earn try-its and display them on brown badge sashes or vests. These were not designed for proficiency like the badges for older girls, but for exploration and exposure to a wide variety of areas.
Madison greets us dressed in the new junior uniform of bright Kelly green A-line skirt, white blouse with blue and green striped trefoils, blue tab tie, and bright green beret. She had a choice of a green polo shirt and pants, or shorts, as well as a vest or sash to display her accomplishments.
1994 brought more changes to Brownie uniforms with bright colors and coordinated separates. She could choose a floral jumper with a blouse, a mock turtleneck, and skirt, cargo pants and sweater, or any combination of the 8 separates.
Cadet and Senior Girl Scouts returned to our roots by adopting blue uniforms for a short 5 years before adopting tan casual separates in 2000. Royal blue skirts or walking shorts were paired blue and yellow striped white blouse and a long vest to match the more casual approach to fashion.
Our current uniform for older girls is wearing her light tan vest, to display all her badges and awards with a white polo shirt and skirt or slacks of her choice.
The 21st century continues to bring changes to the Girl Scout movement and Girl Scout uniform. So there it is, 110 years of Girl Scouting and the uniforms we wear. As the country grew and changed, so did Girl Scouts. Prosperity, war, depression, civil and women's rights, and into every part of our communities and world. Uniforms are a tangible look at our history. They make us feel good about ourselves and our role as Girl Scouts. Each uniform represents the best of its time and the dreams of the girls and women who wore them. Wearing the Girl Scout uniform gives each member a feeling of pride and symbolizes acceptance of the Girl Scout promise and laws and a willingness to serve.
This fashion show was presented by Girl Scouts from Northern Colorado and the Girl Scouts of Colorado History Center in Loveland. This is part of a major exhibit, Girl Scouts Impact the World, at the Global Village Museum of Arts and Cultures in Fort Collins, Colorado. Visit the exhibit any Tuesday through Saturday between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. until May 21st. Registered Girl Scouts and adult leaders are admitted free, thanks to a generous donor. We will have a special opportunity for Girl Scout alumni to visit on Friday, April 22nd from 3 to 7 p.m.
Thank you for attending our Girl Scout fashion show. We hope you enjoyed this look into the history of Girl Scout uniforms as much as we have in presenting it to you. Girl Scouts of Colorado History Center volunteers prepared this fashion show narrative in March 2022 using the following sources: The Cut of the Cloth, A Brief History of Girl Scout Uniforms from 1912 to 1999 by the National Historic Preservation Center of GSUSA, 1999. Girl Scouts Collector's Guide by Mary Degenhart and Judith Kirsch, 2nd edition, 2005. And the Girl Scout Catalog by GSUSA National Equipment Service, annually 1917 to 2009.
Now is the time for a question, and you can go ahead and raise your hand or unmute yourself or put it in the chat even, and I can ask it myself. So feel free to ask any questions you have. Well, I see a question in the chat. What were the peach pits used for and why?
During World War I, Girl Scouts collected peach pits and walnut shells, which were made into charcoal to use as the filters in the gas masks of our soldiers in the trenches in World War I. Peach pits were the best because they absorbed the phosgene and chlorine gases that the Huns used to try to overcome our troops.
Interesting. Also in the chat, did girls have more than one uniform? That's a good question.
Originally, girls usually only had one uniform. They wore it a lot. And in fact, from the 1930s and early 40s, we have a number of uniforms that we can tell have been altered several times so that you could hand it down from you to your sister. Nowadays, girls have a lot of opportunity. Beginning in about the middle 1970s, there were a lot of opportunities for mix and match with pants or slacks or skirts or skirts. And nowadays, most of our Girl Scouts just have a vest where they display all of their awards and accomplishments.
Margot, did you have your hand up?
I did, but there's another question before me that says, what is the best way to care for uniforms from the 40s and the 50s, Mike?
The best way to care for them is to use a special soap. I'm going to have to ask my wife to get the jar down. Marty Allison, you might be able to answer that question.
It's the name of it is Orvis, and it is a very delicate laundry. Well, not even a laundry soap. It's actually used by farmers, milk farmers, cow farmers, as they milk their cows.
My label is off.
Yeah.
We
Do you
just
have
said-
any idea how that came about? That seems so specific.
It's because their hands. got-
No, just at a training that we were at, somebody said this is the best way to launder the uniforms. So
Somebody
We
figured
have-
it out and never looked back. I see.
yeah, it's proven very,
It's
very good.
Yeah, it's Mary Mild, and we wash most of those 1930 and 1940 uniforms by hand.
They do often require ironing.
Mike, there's another question. I remember a uniform that the tie was buttoned onto the front of the dress. I did not see that.
Yes, that was the senior Girl Scout uniform from 1973 to 1984. It was the dark green uniform that was in the display or in the fashion show that we had the tagline, the official uniform with the unofficial hemline.
Because everybody shortened it up. It was the time for mini skirts and everybody made them into mini skirts.
I had the question purely, those were some wonderful models. Where did you recruit such great Girl Scout models for those uniforms?
We just put out a call and individual Girl Scouts and troop leaders just called me up and said, my daughter would like to be in the fashion show.
Narrators.
And then we also recruited troop leaders to be narrators.
There's a
One more
question
question.
in the chat. Sorry, Margot.
All right, I'll
You're trying to take over my job. It says, Mike, how did you become such an expert on Girl Scouts and their history?
Um,
By default.
I was a Boy Scout growing up, and I met my bride at Colorado State University. And when we went off to our first duty station with the Air Force, the Boy Scouts on the base were well organized, but the Girl Scouts needed help. And so my wife Jody became a troop leader and I became a helper, and I've been doing it ever since. When I retired in Kansas, I worked with the Girl Scout History Center in Wichita, Kansas. And when we moved here, Marty Allison took one look at me and said, "You're the military man, you're in charge of uniforms." I've learned an awful lot about girls' fashions and women's fashions because you ladies put your zippers in all kinds of different places. And you have A-line skirts and 6-gore skirts and all kinds of things that would drive us men crazy.
Learn more about skirts than you ever thought you did, huh?
Yes.
Hadley asks, did you guys earn badges? And if so, where did you put them? So I'm guessing she's asking, like, how did the change of where you put badges come about?
Tell them about legacy badges. We still have legacy badges.
Yeah. Originally, the uniforms the badges were put on your right sleeve if it was a proficiency badge, something you earned and could teach others. And if it was a community service badge, such as first aid, you would wear it on your left sleeve. In the late 1930s, when we went to some short sleeve uniforms, the Girl Scouts of the USA brought out badge sashes so that girls could continue to show their proficiency and display their awards that they were very proud of.
Yes, we all learned that.
Somebody has asked if the original badges were embroidered by girls or were they purchased? Actually, the original badges that Girl Scouts first earned were imported from England by Juliet Gordon Low, our founder, who brought them from the Girl Guide centers in London and used them. And then eventually we started manufacturing our own. There are some badges in our 1919 uniform that have obviously been hand embroidered by individual girls or mothers.
Rayanne shared a picture of the uniform with the unofficial hem. Rayanne, do you think it would be okay if I shared my screen and showed everyone? I think since you put it in the chat, I'm
Sure,
okay.
sure.
Here we go. Is that a picture of you, Rayanne?
Yes, it is at the Memorial Day parade of our community.
That wasn't bad. They were sometimes shorter.
For me, that was really short, I remember.
I remember, I hear you.
Okay, I have a question. It's about badges, and I don't know how much you know about them because I know they're part of the uniform, but it can get kind of tricky. So do different shapes of badges mean anything? Like, what are the significances of the shapes?
Riot versus the.
Originally, our badges were round, always for Girl Scouts, and then intermediate Girl Scouts and senior Girl Scouts. In 1973, the Brownie Girl Scouts started a program called Try-Its, whereas a proficiency badge was earned by a girl who knew the subject and could teach others that subject, whether or not it was homemaking or first aid or animal care. The try-its were exploratory. Girls would try a subject and learn something about it, but they didn't necessarily need to be experts. At that same time, our cadet Girl Scouts, which were junior high or middle school girls, would earn interest patches, which were rectangular badges that indicated that they had an interest in weather or outer space or some particular subject.
Hadley asks, how were the troop crests created? What was the idea behind them? And I'll confess, I don't even know what a troop crest is.
Just a minute. That one I'm going to have to look up, unless maybe Jo Anne can answer it.
We do have a whole panel of experts with us today.
The troop crest is what the troop chose as their symbol or their designation. This is Jody, and it kind of just gave you an identity. We were a flower troop, or we were a bird troop, or we were a tree. The troop I was in, we had a tree as a symbol because we really like to go camping. And so we had a pine tree, and I remember them from the time I was in intermediate and started earning badges. When you had a badge sash, your troop got to pick one. I don't think Brownies had them. No. At least in my background. Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead,
Joanne is
Anna,
shaking her head no.
Whoever, Joanne.
I was going to say that, yes, Jody did say right, that it was identification of a troop. And it depended upon what you wanted to do, how you were calling it. I had a troop here in Fort Collins, we started at Riffenburg and we had daffodils. because what we did, Riffenberg was a new school, and we planted daffodils around the nameplate, or around the name structure, you know, there in front of the school. And we were supposed to keep track of it and redo those things each year. So it had a significance of an identity of what your troop either wanted to do or were part of, or just, you know, you could do anything you wanted, just like Jody said. But it identified the troop along with the troop number.
Right.
And as someone asked, or as Sophie asked about the different shapes of the badges, as GSUSA decided to make more different age levels, the shapes of the badges identified what you earned at what age level. So now we have what are called, all things are called badges now. It's not the brownie triads and the junior badges and the older girl badges. Everything's are called badges now, but they have a shape that's distinctive. Daisies have badges, which are sort of a flowerish outline. Brownies have the triangle. They kept the triad shape. Juniors have the round. Cadets have the rectangle. Seniors have a diamond shape. Ambassadors have a sort of a square that has outlines on the outside. I mean, a little scoop out on the outside. So as you progressed into each age level, each of the badges become more difficult. The daisies are exposed, brownies still sort of try things, juniors become proficient, the cadets learn more and go deeper into things, because Girl Scouts is a progression through the age level of what they learn and how they can serve their communities in the badges from what they learn and do.
So it looks like Margot asked how many different uniforms can be seen at the Girl Scouts of Colorado History Center in Loveland. I've heard you say you have a lot, right?
Yeah, we have 42 different girl uniforms as the style changed from the original 1916 up until 2010, the current badge uniform, and 14 different adult uniforms. Now that doesn't include any of our specialized Girl Scout things like the camp uniforms, the equestrian uniform. In the 1920s, I'm still looking for one of the cycling uniforms where you got the split pants for bicycling, and pajamas, swimming suits, and all kinds of other things that Girl Scouts could purchase over the years. But basically, we have 42 different girl uniforms and 14 different adult uniforms. We have about 600 uniforms, complete uniforms in our inventory.
That is quite a lot. So Eileen asks, in doing some research on Girl Scouts before the presentation, I read an article that stated Girl Scouts had lost 30% of membership in the last 2 years. Any plans on how to increase membership? Also, do you know how women moving into the workforce affected the number of women available to lead a group? Not necessarily about the uniforms, but I think with the history committee here, we could cobble together an answer. It's in the chat if anyone wants to reread it.
Don't try and answer.
I'm sorry, I don't have any information on the membership and so on. I think, Joanne, do you have any information along that line?
Joanne, you're muted.
Well, membership has declined for several reasons, and in the last couple of years is because of COVID. Some people just did not have the ability to do the Zooming and where they met part of their meeting places were denied for them. It was just, and you just couldn't meet. So some people were sort of on a hiatus. And now the big push is to try to get those who decided that maybe they couldn't participate in that point time to re-register and come back. And there is some of that. There is always a problem with retention and just what the situation is out in the workplace and in life. But Girl Scouts of Colorado is one of those councils that are way ahead of the game in re-upping and increasing their membership compared to many of the councils around the United States. And so we have recruitment teams with staff members who are going out and working their heads off and their little shoes off. And again, you will see a lot of information on incentives, bring in a buddy, incentives for membership. If you register, like today was the day that you could register for half price. Otherwise, up until July, you'll get 20% off on registration. So there's a real push to try to keep the girls registered and keep them active with lots of new programs that are coming out. So yes, no matter what the youth organization was, they are all in the same, having the same problem and all doing the same kinds of things. But we know that Girl Scouts is the best organization for developing leadership for girls and having the greatest program.
Okay. Looks like there's more information in the chat. And then Hadley asks, were Girl Scouts discriminated against when they first started out? Question.
They weren't really discriminated against. When Juliet Gordon Low was in England, she worked with Lord Baden-Powell, who was the founder of the Boy Scout movement. And in 1911, there was a big parade in London at the Crystal Palace where several thousand Boy Scouts marched. At the end of this parade, Lord Baden-Powell saw about 100 girls in khaki uniforms with the Smokey the Bear kind of campaign hat. And he was shocked that girls wanted to be Boy Scouts. He didn't like that at all. So he asked his sister, Agnes Baden-Powell, to do something for the girls. And his dictate was that they could not be scouts, which is why they were called Girl Guides. When Juliet Gordon Low brought the movement to the United States, she was adamant of the belief that girls could do anything boys could do. And therefore, the first Girl Scout troops wouldn't put up with any discrimination. The one concession that she did make to the ladylike nature of girls in the 1910s was that when they played basketball, she put up a screen around the basketball court so the girls could run up and down the court just like boys in their bloomers and blouses and play basketball without being, scandalous to the men in the community. Girl Scouts were also ahead of the game in terms of allowing African Americans, Hispanic people, and other nationalities to join both in troops of their own and in mixed troops. In fact, one of the earliest books that we have about Girl Scouts is about a girl who's named Olivia, who's an African American girl, and her experiences with the Girl Scout movement.
Okay, Kay shared a picture. I'm gonna go ahead and share it on my screen. And she asks, This is a picture of the uniform with the button-down tie in the mid-50s. Was it being worn correctly? It was a Fort Collins group.
It appears to be worn correctly. That's an intermediate Girl Scout uniform.
Yes, we all did that.
A little recognizable to some of you.
Yes, 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 yes.
And I wonder who else saw a uniform in this fashion show that they recognized as something that they wore.
We've had a couple people come into the museum and they look at the exhibit and everybody always has at least 4-degree separation from a Girl Scout. I think it's always so interesting. They always bring it up like, oh, my sister was a Girl Scout, or I was a Girl Scout for 2 years when I was little. It's kind of amazing the scope that Girl Scouts have had, their reach in the US. It's pretty impressive. I have another question. So today the official uniform is just a vest, right? How has that gotten, would you say, less strict in terms of uniform wearing? Like, when are they required, or when are they not required? I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yes, I would say that the whole culture of the United States and of many countries has gone away from being uniforms to identify membership in an organization. And that's where we've gone to in Girl Scouts of the USA, principally the vest or a sash with your displaying your awards and just wearing it with your regular street clothes. I also know that is also become a pretty common thing among the Girl Guide and Girl Scout organizations in Europe, because you'll see a lot of them have just gone from a uniform to, like in Britain, the Brownies now wear red and yellow pantsuits, or sweatshirts and sweatpants kind of thing as their uniform. But no, I think it's a broader thing across the entire culture. You know, the Knights of Columbus and, you know, many other organizations that used to have a uniform or a costume that they would wear have gone away from that. And even, for example, the military, the Air Force and the Army and so forth, we no longer have a normal daily uniform that includes a jacket and a tie.
Would you say that has applied to Girl Scout leaders as well? Do they have an official uniform today?
No. They have choices, and a lot of them nowadays are getting a vest. We have blue leader vests, which they're wearing now, where they can display their troop's crest and their troop number and their own achievements as cookie manager or outdoor education manager, or those kinds of credentials that leaders earn.
Okay, any more questions from anybody? Looks like we're out of questions. Okay.
Well, we invite anybody who would like to know more information to get in touch with us at the Girl Scout History Center in Loveland, Colorado. They can just write GSCO history at gmail.com. Sorry, my brain short-circuited. And we will be glad to get back in touch with them. We also loan out uniforms to troops and service units, for example, to march in community parades or have fashion shows in their own community. We also have programs with individual girls who may be doing a history project in their school activity about Juliet Gordon Low or some heroine or hero that they admire. And we would be glad to help with those kind of things as well.
Very cool. Well, thank you again, Mike, and everyone who attended this evening. And just a reminder, on May 6th, we have our first Friday art walk. The museum is open for free from 5 to 8. And the Songbirds Girl Scout Choir will be performing from 5:30 to 6:30. So come and check out the exhibit, which you saw little snippets of in the video. And history committee members will be there and you can always ask more questions. So let's give Mike and everyone who answered questions a round of applause. Thank you everyone for coming today. And I hope you have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. It was wonderful. This is Gail.